So welcome back after the very, very short break that went very fast. I think we all needed this break, but I am sure the people that are not able to listen to all of our presentations will get back to them tonight, maybe in our video salon. So now you can see our program for this second session. As I mentioned before, we have a couple of speakers. We have now Mr. Frank Hofmann. Mr. Hofmann, I would be very happy if you can turn your screen now on. The market for biogas and bioenergy has had a very, I would say, a very slow development, but it has gotten there, and now there is a lot of demand for these types of technology. Latin America has a wonderful resource there, and what biogas can offer in terms not only of energy generation, but other products that are united to this are immense. And I am very happy, Mr. Hofmann, that you accepted our invitation. Frank Hofmann is consultant for international affairs for the German Biogas Association, and the name of his presentation is Biogas Development, Status Quo, and Future Trends. So please enjoy the presentation and the insightful tips.
Thank you, Mrs. Sasse, for the nice introduction. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, in full screen now. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to talk with you in the next 25 minutes about biogas. And my main message will be that biogas is much more than electricity production. It is even much more than renewable energy production. And what it is more, you will see in the next minutes. I start this presentation with introduction, my company or the association I'm working for. The German Biogas Association is the biggest biogas association worldwide. We have about 4,700 members. Most of them are operators of biogas plants, technology manufacturers, research institutions, several other organizations. And the interesting thing at this is with the membership fee of our members, we have the salary for about 40 employees. So this is somehow unique that we have 40 full professional people working on biogas topics to define legal frameworks, for example, technology standards, exchange of information like this, advocacy on local, governmental, and European level. And I hope that we were quite successful in the past and will be in the future as well. We have an international department with about 6 persons working on international projects. Probably you know some of these organizations, for example, GIZ, UNIDO, and before that there was SEQA mentioned, so we are working with all of them. By the way, this association partnership, we are very active in that. We had an association partnership with Indian Biogas Association, with the Serbian Association, and up from today, the 1st of December, we have an association partnership with the Biogas Association in Uganda. So we are very active on that. But as it was mentioned before, I don't know exactly how active SEQA is in Latin America. But if you are interested, write me an email and then we can check that. If you are interested is the next word for our biogas consultancy. Again, if you are interested in having international tailor-made biogas trainings, for example, or organize delegation trips in Germany, again, write me an email and we will see how to solve that. Having said that, I would like to come to the next topic. That's the biogas status quo and development. We thought to find out how many biogas installations are installed worldwide. By biogas installation, I must explain, I'm not talking about domestic biogas plants, so not small household biogas plants. I'm talking about the bigger size plants, industrial size biogas plants, or on agricultural level. Worldwide, there are no real numbers, but there are some assumptions that about half of all worldwide installed biogas plants are in Europe. In Europe are about 18,000 installations. And again, there's one outstanding thing, that's Germany. About half of all installations are located in Germany. So we can really say that Germany is the market leader. And that's why we take a short look into the figures of biogas installations of Germany. We have a timeline here from 1992, where the German Biogas Association was created, until nearly today. In blue are the number of biogas installations in Germany, and in red is the installed capacity. The development boomed very much after year 2000, where there was an incentive system. Some other speakers already mentioned that the governmental support in form of an incentive system is very important for renewables, for all renewables. And this is true for biogas as well. With having this governmental support system, we have now the situation of about 9,400 biogas plants in operation with an installed capacity of about 5 gigawatt. So that's an important part of our energy transition. And what we can say as well with this graph is that we have experiences since decades, many thousand biogas plants in operation. So it's not a new development, nothing uncertain. It's a state-of-the-art technology. Some rough figures, I don't have the time to go into all details, but again, what might be interesting for policymakers, for the society, according to official calculations in Germany, the biogas sector helps to reduce about 20 million tons CO2 emissions. Not only helps, it causes 20 million less CO2 emissions. There's a turnover for 8.8 billion euro, which is important for policymakers as well. And job creation in the biogas sector is about 46,000 people. Again, a very strong argument for policymaker to think about the incentive system or support system for biogas. Biogas is a job creator, and the jobs are mainly in rural areas. Having said that, I would like to turn to the main advantages. At the beginning, I said that biogas is much more than just electricity or a renewable. To explain that into detail, I think this graph helps a little bit. These are the components of the biogas plant. Several kinds of feedstocks are usually collected. These feedstocks can be from agriculture, can be industrial feedstocks, household organic materials from agriculture. So there are several kinds of materials that can be first collected, a little bit prepared, then pumped or transported into the main digester system. That's usually a big tank of concrete or steel where the biogas is produced and stored typically inside the biogas plant. The biogas itself, that's the fuel for the renewable energy that is very often used in a gas engine to produce electricity and heat. And here it comes to the point that it's not only electricity, it's additional heat production. Biogas can be burned directly in a boiler to produce process heat, but combination with a gas engine is typically the most often way which it is done. Biogas itself could even be upgraded to natural gas quality. Then it's called biomethane. in natural gas quality, it can be used as fuel or injected into the gas grid. And that's not all. The effluent of the biogas plant can be used as fertilizer. The background is that all nutrients from the feedstocks will pass through the system, will remain in the system, and of course they are still in the digest state. So this is a very valuable fertilizer. With this picture, I want to show you the comparison of biogas and methane. So biogas is mainly methane, 50 to 70%, and carbon dioxide and some other trace gases. If we separate the methane from the carbon dioxide and other gases, then we get nearly pure methane, which is natural gas quality. This methane can be, as I already mentioned, used for cars, vehicle fuels, could be even liquefied to produce LNG, or used or injected in a gas grid. If you are interested to get more details on that, we have produced a brochure, Biogas to Biomethane. At the end of this presentation, you will see a slide with some QR codes so that you can directly download this brochure if you're interested in that topic. The next topic where biogas is important is biowaste. In Latin America, I think waste treatment is an important topic in many countries because in former times, the typical way to deal with waste was landfilling. But landfills, we all probably know that they are connected with several problems or challenges. One is methane emissions from the landfills. There are even some fires on landfills. You could imagine how much methane will emit from that. And methane is much more greenhouse gas potent compared to CO2. Several studies about that, maybe factor 25, 30 in this range, depending on the time frame. Anyhow, these methane emissions have a huge contribution to climate change. Landfills have sanitization problems if people are going there and trying to sort out some materials that they might use. Loss of nutrients because the nutrients are not recycled, and we have no energy generation. What's the future way to deal bio-waste? Well, one point is composting. Here we have material recycling, but no energy production. There's incineration possible. Here we have energetic use of the material, but typically the ashes cannot be used as fertilizer because there might be heavy metals, some other problems in there. So the ashes typically has to be dumped on landfills. Biogas can offer both energetic use, biogas production, and recovering of nutrients with fertilizer. And that's why biogas should have an important role in waste treatment. By the way, I'm living in the city of Berlin. Here we have separated households, a brown bin or green bin, which is transported by the trucks which are collecting the waste to a biogas plant. The biogas is produced, upgraded to biomethane, and the trucks which are collecting the wastes are operated with the fuel from the waste they collected. So we have two closed recycling loops. One is the recycling of the material to fertilizer, and the other is taking the energy from the waste to drive the trucks that are collecting the waste. There are several technologies available on the market. And again, if you are interested to get more details, we produced a brochure that might be interesting for you. We already heard several points about grid stability. Today, Mr. Krauter said something about that, some other presenters. To make it short and to focus it on biogas, as we had 20% renewable energy in the system. Here we see in red is the demand of for electricity. In green was the electricity produced by wind and solar. As long as we have 20%, it was relatively easy to balance production and consumption. With 40%, now we are at 50% in Germany. There are some peaks where we have even more electricity in the grid than it's needed. But still, even if we still are some red areas where the demand is higher than the production of wind and solar. And that's even with 80% renewable energy, that we have high peaks, but still some demands on types, on times where wind and solar will not produce enough. So we will have another presentation about storage. And I want to say here at this moment, in Germany, for example, we have 9,500 biogas plants. Each of them have a storage tank. And most of them, nearly or at least half of them, are in flexible operation. So they can produce electricity on demand if the electricity grid provider is in need to have more electricity. He can switch biogas plants on. The engine can start within a second to produce biogas. If there's enough energy in the grid, he can switch it off. So that's a huge option for future storage system, which is still already in place in Germany. But there's not only the, let's say, the grid situation, which must be regulated and organized by the electricity net provider. There are even some locations which might have problems with blackouts. I don't know how often and typically it is in your regions, but there are still some local blackouts, unstable electrical grid, especially in remote areas, and especially in times where big hazards like hurricanes might occur, there might be shortcuts. And again, this is a motivation probably for location to think about a biogas plant, because biogas is usually reliable, storable, can be used in base load, about 8,000 hours per year, or can be used in flexible in operation. Anyhow, it's reliable and storable. And this brings me to the last point of advantages of biogas. We already mentioned the greenhouse gas effect and climate change. It's a huge challenge, probably the biggest challenge of mankind. The role of biogas, again, is in this topic a little bit special. The most important influence factor of a biogas plant is probably the avoidance of uncontrolled methane emissions from open air storages or organic material. What does it mean? In Europe, it's very obvious, and for Germany, it's a huge motivation to support biogas plants, because if in agriculture manure is stored, then there will be huge methane emissions, which is true for Latin America as well. In Latin America, there's an additional point, that's industrial production of organic material and open lagoons. There are huge and many open lagoons in Latin America. And you could imagine that only on the surface, on the biggest or upper 5 centimeters or maybe 10 centimeters, only on that surface, there will be some oxygen. On all the other part of the lagoon will be free of oxygen, which means it is a form of biogas plant. There are methane emissions, and there are huge methane emissions. In future, we must fight against climate change, and the avoidance of these emissions are of huge importance. One solution, and probably the easiest solution, is to cover the open lagoon or to install a biogas plant. That's a closed system where the organic material is digested, controlled, and the produced methane is not emitted into the air, but used for energy production. One very important point. Other important points are generation of renewable energy, by that substitution of fossil fuels, and the production of biofertilizer, substitution of mineral fertilizer, their production usually needs much of fossil energy as well. Having said that, I would like to come to the end of this presentation with the summary. Biogas can be used as energy carrier to generate electricity, one part, heat, and even vehicle fuel, which is somehow seldom in renewable energies. Waste is processed. It's a recycling of nutrients and energy generation. Biogas plants can be used to balance power production and consumption. And there are huge environmental advantages with biogas. Avoidance of methane emissions from storage, substitution of fossil fuels, substitution of synthetic fertilizers, recycling of nutrients. There are even some more advantages, but limited of time, stop here. In Germany, we have about 9,500 biogas plants in operation, experiences since decades, so it's an approved state-of-the-art technology. If you are interested to have more information, we have several kind of publications, so 2 English biogas journals per year, which are published, and you could download these kind of brochures if you're interested in more information to have how to transfer waste to biogas, biogas to biomethane, how to use the digestate. And safety is becoming more and more important in the world, because with development of a sector, there might be a development or correlation with accidents that must be avoided. That's why safety and standards will getting more and more important in the future. Download these brochures, and if you would like to have personal contact, I would be happy to get you an email from you. Thank you for your attendance.
Mr. Hofmann, it was a very, very clear presentation. I thank you so much for letting us know a little bit more about what this technology might bring. We have experienced some skepticism sometimes about these new technologies. It cannot be, it's too good to be true, but it is. It has byproducts, provides stability of distribution, and solves waste problems. Thank you very much for bringing us to these insights. We are going to put some of these information. I will talk to you later, because we had now the idea, some of the downloads that you offered, maybe we can put them in our own booth so that everyone can access to them, or just provide a link to it. So this is just a little bit of information for our audience. Thank you very much, Mr. Hofmann. I'm going to make a turn here, and I want to present you our next speaker. It's a very exciting technology for which I must admit I did not know a lot, but for me it's very, very interesting to learn about these, especially since I come from Central America, and this resource is very big there, and this is the geothermal energy. There's been this development, this program from promoting geothermal technology in Central America. Bernhard has been taking also with the rest of the team care of this, and I know that if I have a question about this, I would certainly come to Bernhard. So I am happy that you're now with us, and you have already shared your presentation, so I let you now to start talking to us. Bernhard Johst, welcome.
Thanks a lot. I hope you all can hear me well. So let's start. Next 20 minutes, we will talk about geothermal in Latin America, but I will put a little focus on Central America. Well, the title of my presentation is Policies, Technology and Resources. I will focus a little bit more on technology and resources. Tomorrow, my colleague, Ana Lucia Alfaro, she will talk a little bit more about policies. So yeah, first of all, my little agenda. Here you can see it. One moment. We'll talk about the potential we have geothermal in Latin America. Afterwards, I will show you some examples, real examples, concrete examples, where you can use geothermal in hotels, greenhouses, heating, and a lot of people they don't know, cooling in buildings, bagasse drying and other applications around South America. I will talk a little bit of some partners. So the IGA is International Geothermal Association. We're working together, and Secasier is a regional association in Central America. And last but not least, I will show you a little bit about some financing opportunity and collaboration with the GIZ, for example, with the developed PPP. But later on, you will see it. All right. Most of you know this map, I think so. This is, where you can see it here. This is a so-called ring of fire. We've got a lot of seismic activity in Central and South America. So you can see here a lot of, or especially in Central America, there are a lot of volcanoes and active volcanoes. So you see that all around the world, there's some areas where you can use geothermal really or easily. You can put some applications. I picked a very famous but little country in Central America, Costa Rica. I lived there for more than 10 years, and you can see it here really good, and it's well established. A lot of analysis, a lot of data. How does geothermal works in Costa Rica? Again, a lot of people don't know that, for example, Costa Rica has a lot of geothermal plants for electricity generation, more than 260 megawatt installed capacity. Because of, they have got more than 120 volcanoes and 10 are still active. So if you can imagine, you are there in Costa Rica on vacation, near to the Arenal volcano. You can see it here. There's a lake, a big hydro plant, and beside the lake there is the volcano Arenal. And I remember it when there was a little lava flow coming out at night. So it's a little bit romantic, but it also shows us how is the potential in this little country, and not all Latin America, but in most countries in Central and South America. You have got really good conditions, or the best conditions, for indirect and direct use of geothermal. This is a theme or an issue I will talk about later. Indirect use, what I mentioned, there are a lot of geothermal power plants. But my presentation I will dedicate it a little bit more to direct use of geothermal. So this is only for people who don't know. There's a lot of information about geothermal potential in Costa Rica. Long time ago, the ESA, the monopolist, started to investigate this kind of energy source, and it is used a lot there. Well, let's start, or let's talk about more energy demand. Now you can see here some sectors: the residential sector in wine red, commercial sector, industry. But I will put a little focus on residential and commercial. This is from the US, but there are a lot of similar figures or pictures, or Germany and Europe, well, all Central and Latin America countries. I think it's really typical more for a northern country, but let's see what are the sectors are doing. So for example, the residential sector uses a lot of energy for heating water or space heating, but also, you see it here, air conditioning and refrigeration. And this is what is more of interest in Central and South America. Important is here, if you see on the x-axis, the temperatures where we need our energy It's between 20 for pool heating. So maybe 200, 120 for refrigeration. But I will come to this point a little bit later. But normally, you see here the most energy demand is between 40 and 60 degrees Celsius. So direct use of geothermal. What does this mean? What I mentioned before, this is a power generation here with really high temperatures. And this is what we know. We know there are a lot of plants in Central America already in use. But let's have a focus on the direct use. I put this part here from the picture over here. So, and I will put a focus here, really at the bottom. You see like 10 degrees Celsius and above, maybe to 100 degrees Celsius. There are a lot of applications where in the daily life for us in buildings, the residential sector, or for little industries or bigger industries and food industry, where you need energy and where you could use geothermal in a direct way. And there's a big question. So I have, if I can use geothermal in a direct way, go back here, geothermal heat pumps, for example. And we have, for example, the Bundesverband Wärmepumpe, the heat pump association, the Federal Heat Pump Association in Germany. So if you see it, so or if you talk about it, how can it be that we have in Germany more than 1 million installed heat pumps today, and how many we have in Central America? 0. I think there's a big lack. The question is, maybe it doesn't work, or there is no need, or what does happen here? I think, yes, there is a need, because you can make cooling, and I showed you in the examples with heat pumps. It's a major technology. You have a lot of applications for it, and there are some examples in South America, but until now, no example in Central America. So what are my my projections? So the next 10 years, and to have a little vision, so where we can go to with geothermal applications, especially in heat pumps, in the next 10 years. And I think, we can achieve more than 1,000 installations in the next years. So next, some ideas how you can use geothermal applications in hotels. So indirect use, we talked about it, from heat or electricity, or the direct use, especially you use the heat of the subsoil for certain energy need in your hotel. Also, where's a big, let's say, energy demand in a hotel? Normally, it's from the air conditioning in Central America and also in South America. So sometimes it's up to 40% of the whole energy demand, and your what you are paying so monthly. So for the energy is dedicated to air conditioning. And there's also some possibilities to replace it, to make a change, to use only the electricity what you're used to, use a heat pump, and then you can have with the inverse technologies, and then it works like a refrigerator. Then you can use the geothermal energy also for cooling. Here are some other examples of hotels for the direct use, which you can do, for example, in a sauna or another applications, wellness and health applications in a hotel. And see it here, you need a little bit more temperatures maybe 70, 90 degrees, especially here where you need higher temperatures, it would be more easy to recover your investment in a geothermal application. It's only some pictures. If you, for example, take such a therapeutic cabin, a sauna, maybe an investment of $140,000, you have got a return on investment in more or less 3 years. This is really easy because of what I showed before, the high temperatures you need here. Another application I want to show you greenhousing. We are really used to it here in Europe. You see it in the Netherlands, you see it here in Germany, you see it in Turkey. This is an example from Turkey, where the heating of the greenhouse you also can do by a geothermal application. And what does it mean, or why should I do this? Of course, it will help me to be more efficient. It's more cheaper. And yeah, I can grow my plants more or less the whole year. So I'm independent of outside weather conditions. So I've got a more secure and efficient environment for my plants. Another option that I mentioned before, cooling of buildings. There's a big market opportunity for Central America. If you, for example, use the groundwater and heat pump technology, you can use it for your AC. And I'm thinking, for example, about Panama. Panama is like a big fridge. It's on sea level. Panama City is a city on sea level. It's really hot in there the whole year. And yeah, they're 24/7. They're using air conditioning. Here's an option you could use and replace your normal ACs for maybe together with the heat pump technology, another cooling option. What does it mean? So it's more physical explanation. If you see here the blue line, it's more if you use a normal aerothermal system, the COP is less, so it's better to have a higher COP. You can compare it to a geothermal system, which use the more, let's say, the density of water. Can use, it's more easy and efficient. It's cheaper to cool the building with the geothermal application and not by the traditional air conditioning like an aerothermal system. Another example of heating of buildings, this is what we know here very well in Germany, but this example is from Chile. Like a few years ago, they installed a really nice system, social construction or a social living area. So also the heat pump works really well, and you can see it here. There is the gain, a lot of efficiency to use a heat pump and geothermal application, the heating for a building. So again, we have got 1 million heat pumps installed in Germany. Why is there no in Central America? I think there are a lot of lacks of ideas, of knowledge. But later on, I will tell a little bit more why did it happen. Another example from South America. This is more a concept for bagasse drying. I also know it from Costa Rica or other electricity generation plants in Central America. You can use a sugar cane to produce to ethanol and then produce electricity. If you would use a geothermal application, and what I told you, it's so easy to use it, for example, in Central America. You can dry more the bagasse, and then you have a more efficient electricity generation, for example. And last but not least, there are some real examples for geothermal application in South America. For example, the heating of a pool at a Navy base. Also here, greenhouses, what I mentioned before, or for fish farming. And yeah, of course, in the whole food factories, they need a lot of energy, a lot of heat, hot water. There are some companies which are already using geothermal in their production. What I mentioned before was that we have a need, or more or less a lack of knowledge, so in the region. So it's really important to work with partners. So one partner I would like to present today is IGA. So we are in a frequent exchange of ideas and how we can make the work better and to promote better geothermal applications in Central America. So the idea is to create a hub, and with a focus of several areas which are important, like education, training, financing, and especially the issue what also says the title of my presentation, policies. Because again, maybe you will ask a question: 1 million heat pumps in Germany, 0 in Central America. Where's the problem? The problem is, again, we don't have the policies. We're working on it, and thanks to the GIZ and others who are working on this. And together with the IGA, the idea is, so in the next years, to work more on that issue, and to have the right policies that especially the heat pump producers, together with some project developers, can install more and more geothermal applications in the region. Only another partner I would like to present you, Secastier. This is a really close partner to the GIZ program. They, for example, they developed a new manual. It's for dairy sector. If you're working with the milk or with cows sector, the dairy sector, you also can use geothermal applications for your production. So I've got 1-2 minutes left. I will finish my presentation also with an opportunity. It's an invitation for you. If you're interested to finance such a project, if you need a good partner who knows the region, the right people, etc., it would be a nice opportunity to work on a develop PPP. PPP stands for Public-Private Partnership. So GIZ could be a partner, so in the Central American region. How does it work? I've got like 50% of the investment comes from you, but could be an in-kind, and the other 50% comes from the BMZ. I put the link on it where you can get more information. There are some participation criteria you have to fulfill. The idea is to work on an OECD DAC list country. Your company has to be minimum 800,000 euro turnover per year, minimum 8 employees, and at least 2 years of business operations. The idea is, to be more efficient, to contribute to the SDGs. I think the majority of you knows this. The SDGs, be a valid and secure energy production. So and the idea is, of course, to be to have a long-term business interest. This is a scheme. How does it work? So every 3 months there is some competition of ideas, and then we can work it together. The GIZ. You also can work together, for example, with energiewende. They also could help you to fulfill the forms, and, for example, work together with the DEG. But in my case, it would be great to work with the GIZ. And you bring in every quarter your idea, and if they accept the idea, we work on a project plan, and we can develop such kind of project. Here I will end my presentation. A lot of information. Thanks a lot to Energiewende and all the others which give us more information. If you have got any questions later on, you can call me or send me an email. Thanks a lot.
Bernhard, thank you very much for being with us. It's a very interesting technology. We needed to hear a little bit about the truths and maybe also the myths that are come together with new technology. So it's very insightful to hear from you, from special projects that you have developed. We do have a question. It comes from Mr. Campos. He would like to know, or his question is, do you use geothermal energy in absorption chillers for air conditioning systems in hotels?
Well, of course, no, there's adsorption and absorption. There's both with D and with B possibilities in chillers. You can use it. It's also a valid and major technology which is already in use. So of course, if you need more information and where we can make an application, you said something about hotels would be great. You can do this also in Central America. There is a possibility. This, for example, would be a great develop PPP. We could develop together, but it's possible, yes.
Thank you, Bernhard. It is very important what you said. Capacity building, policies, and financing are topics that we are also going to be covering in the following days. And I am glad that you mentioned this, the importance of these topics. You can visit us all in our booth in the Global Hub Energiewende. As Bernhard said, we can help you out also in filling the forms and assess you a little bit with these develop PPP programs. I think it's a wonderful opportunity, this platform, to get together, to learn about these things, to look for partners, and actually we can do business also taking care of, or I mean, not at the cost of our environment. So this is a very positive thing. Thank you very much, Bernhard, and we will be seeing you certainly now in the fair. Now I would like to introduce the next speaker. This is Mr. Markus Rosenthal. Mr. Rosenthal is head of policy and regulation for the German Energy Storage Association. I hope I said the words in the right order, Mr. Rosenthal. Perfect. I am very happy that you're here with us. Storage technologies are a main focus point about renewable energies, and you've been with us also in many other presentations around the world, and it's very nice to have you back with us presenting the energy storage solutions and the security of supply.
Well, thank you very much.
So Mr. Rosenthal, if you can share your screen now, we are ready.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Just do this and just so could you tell me if you see the screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. Now.
Now we can see it.
Yes.
And now I go. It works a bigger. So
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria, for the invitation. I'm going to speak about energy storage from the German perspective. You will understand later why I'm kind of focusing on our country in terms of what lessons can be learned. So I introduced briefly the German Association for Energy Storage. This is kind of part of our members. Kind of many of them are operating on a global scale. So why do we need energy storage? It is very clear that kind of energy storage and renewable energy are kind of natural partners. Of course, people from the coal industry are now also trying to get involved into our market, but this is kind of rather kind of non-important developments overall in the market. As we all know, renewable energy is the key to achieve the climate objectives of the Paris Agreement. And I just explained to you what's happening in Germany. Unfortunately, only if this is a German slide. It's from an academic world, and we thought it's easier to explain it than kind of to redraft it because it has so much small print. What it is saying, it is in 1990, the renewable energy in Germany started to pick up. New regulations came in, a specific funding scheme for renewable energy, which secured kind of an income for those who were investing into renewable energy. So that secure income helped to generate a huge growth in the renewable energy sector. So this is going still on, but what we also is now seeing is a higher demand since about kind of 5 to 6 years, and higher demand to integrate the renewable energy into the energy system. I just give you an example. Kind of it was in the good old days when it all started. It was common sense that kind of somebody who produced a kilowatt hour renewable energy, solar energy, for instance, he got up to 5 to 12 cents, depending on the circumstances, on income per kilowatt hour. And in the long run, this is a quite expensive system. At the moment, the German energy customer, industry, or the normal ordinary consumer is paying overall 25 billion euros per year for this kind of scheme. So the big question is, of course, kind of who can afford it? And we have the highest energy prices in Europe, closely followed by Denmark. But it is all very cost intensive. So the big question is now kind of how can we integrate the renewable energy into the normal energy market? And I oversimplified, be careful with the word normal, but kind of, you know, it's kind of a new thing that kind of renewable energy, for instance, the North Sea, we have offshore wind, is not getting any subsidies anymore when a new windmill is installed. And this is kind of part of the integration into the energy market system. But this also means that it is now very common that a decentralized energy system starts to operate. In the good old days, it was kind of a coal power station, a gas power station, which produced in a central way the energy. And now it is a decentralized energy production generation, which is now shaping the market. And that is starting to reshape the whole way how we deal with energy. And so the next step we see now is that we're going to have a complete integration, goodbye to the renewable energy scheme from 1990 in 2030 latest. And what's going to happen is, of course, we're going to see hydropower in future. That's also new. 5 years ago, nobody talked about hydropower. Now, green hydropower is the key technology in Europe, definitely, and it is going to be one of the key technologies within Germany. What we're also going to see is that the transport and industry sector are going to be completely focused on decarbonization. And what we're expecting, of course, kind of in 2050, I just talked today to Swiss company, same in Switzerland, which is not belonging to the European Union, as well as to in the European Union. We all have the objective to become climate friendly in 2050. One of the key issues about Germany is that the energy intensive industry is based in the south. You all know the car BMW or Daimler. They are all based in the south of Germany. Volkswagen is in the north, but kind of they are one of the few factories. Most of the industrial load and demand is in the south, but the most of the renewable energy is produced in the north. So the big question is how to bring the energy from the north to the south. And that's kind of, I already indicated that kind of we're going to see more production in a decentralized way. And this picture tells you what is happening. In the good old fossil age, it was clear one power station generated energy and to industry and to homes. And in the new, we call it the new electrification wave, now suddenly new ways of communicating, new ways of selling energy are appearing. Energy is generated on people's roofs, and they kind of trade it with their neighbors or use it by themselves. And energy storage starts to play a huge role because we recently had a tweet from a minister, our minister for energy, who said the sun is shining not in the night. And unfortunately, we saw it a bit too late. Otherwise, we would have replied. But you can have energy storage in the night, and that is, of course, the new thing, which is kind of now happening. In the fossil age, energy was sufficient. Kind of, you needed energy, and then you could drive a car, you could use the heating, you could produce goods in the industry. What we need now in the new energy world is power. That's kind of always a slightly tricky word. Those who are coming from an kind of energy background know exactly what it means. For those who don't come from this or don't have this background, what power means that the energy is available when it is needed. For instance, if you have a car, electric car, and you want to load it, kind of if you have power in the sense what we mean here, this car will be charged within 15 minutes, and then it will be full. We just have one of our members is BP, which you possibly know from other cars and petrol stations, but BP is now the big cheese in the ultra speed charging sector, and they produce exactly those charging stations which allow you to charge your car within 50 minutes. And that's a new thing. It's kind of the energy is kind of there, is available when it is needed. So this is a summary of what I talked about. We have the local issues, we have the systemic issues and the power issues, which are all changing. And now I come to our favorite picture. What can you do with energy storage? And I don't want to read out all the kind of terms which are listed here, but what you can see is there are lots of opportunities for using energy storage, as well as there are lots of business models which you can build around energy storage. But we always say it is not, energy storage is simply a tool to create a business model. It cannot be the business model itself. So if you, for instance, want to increase your energy efficiency in terms of having a kind of always kind of a proper frequency, then you use energy storage. That's a tool to secure that your energy efficiency and your frequency control is always stable. And that's kind of how it works. We do have some debates with our national government about what energy storage should and could be doing. Our government has a very limited approach to energy storage. What's interesting is because we have a multi-level governance system, and the European Union is kind of pooling the power of now 27 member states. Britain is still part of it, so it's 28, but kind of that's going to end this year. But it's pooling the power of 27 member states, and at the EU level, there's a very clear policy which is saying energy storage is a key for cost-effective security of supply. And I think that's kind of a very clear message to a market which is still developing, but it's also a very clear message to policymakers. If it is the key question how to have in a renewable energy world security of supply, the answer is energy storage. So this is kind of an oversimplified list of what our members are doing. What you can see is kind of this kind of in the blue section, the darker blue section, is we just opted to, or we just chosen a few of the technologies which are kind of quite common. Believe me, we have a very small print kind of Excel sheet which represents about 100 technologies of energy storage. So it is quite easy to lose track where you are. But kind of the main pillars are lithium ion. That's kind of we know this from car batteries or for electric vehicles, quite common. You also know it possibly from your mobile phone. That's kind of what also our politicians are understanding. That's kind of a special way of energy storage. A relatively new technology is redox flow. It's kind of very environmental friendly. Doesn't need lots of raw material, and there's kind of, you can see this in the middle, storage efficiency is slightly lower than kind of with lithium ion, but it really depends what you want to do. Then we have high temperature thermal storage. We have one kind of very interesting pilot project where kind of a wind turbine is next to kind of a thermal storage unit. And this thermal storage unit is made out of volcan ash. So kind of a very traditional material. But what's interesting is kind of with the wind energy, you heat up the volcan ash, and it is kind of, in this pilot scheme, it is very simple and also very cost effective to turn the electricity into heat, but also turn the electricity into hydrogen, and then kind of use it again, then kind of have it as electricity later on. So that's very cost effective. It's a pilot scheme because kind of everything is very close next to each other, and it's on a small island close to Hamburg. It's got a very interesting technology, and especially for industry, the protection of heat is a very important issue. So then we have so-called chemical storage. This could be kind of from hydrogen to other kind of storages, which is kind of also highly efficient. What you can see if you go a bit lower on the kind of on the right pillar, time of response 2 to 8 minutes. So this is kind of rather used for long-term storage, and that's kind of also a key message of this slide. There's kind of short-term storage, usually batteries, which are used sometimes only for milliseconds, often used for minutes or kind of up to 4 hours. But then we have also kind of storage which is focused on seasons. You can use it over months, and that's kind of also very important that we have this flexibility in terms of timing. So the application basically defines the storage technology. Sorry, I needed a small zip just to clear my throat. And that's the key message is kind of that kind of there is a huge flexibility. You can use whatever technology is helpful for you. So now we go to the current trends and developments. I also mentioned kind of a few of the technologies. That's kind of nice, lovely pictures of how it could be, how it could look like. What we're seeing nowadays, and this is, I think, a nice picture saying, illustrating that the combination of technologies is nowadays very common, and that you also have a cross-sectoral integration. So the car could be used, for instance, if there's still a kind of energy in the car and you come home with it, you can plug it into the household plug, and then you can use the energy from the car to for the house. Some of you may think, well, that kind of doesn't really sound feasible, but the car industry, we are in talks with BMW and Daimler. They're kind of very focused on it because they see the potential of also a new market for cars in terms of not only taking energy, but also kind of acting as a rolling battery, which charge, for instance, at the workplace, and then you use the remaining energy for your home. So this is kind of the new world where everything is interplaying, and it's kind of slightly better world than kind of we have now in terms of energy. This picture is kind of drawn by my colleague, an engineer, who is kind of course, very focused on getting things right. What I like about it, and that's the reason why I like this slide, or it's kind of, it gives a clear message about electricity from renewable energy in future will be also used for power to heat. So heating will be based on electricity, and also mobility will be based on electricity. And this also means, of course, that kind of hydrogen is going to be used. And hydrogen is also going to be dependent on electricity. What I find very important about it is kind of, it doesn't need to be electricity when it comes to the final user. It also can be gas, which comes to the final user, and he can use what he needs. But electricity is definitely, from our point of view, the key for the whole system, or for the change in the whole system. I just want to add a few words about kind of, I mentioned at the beginning about kind of the German regulatory environment. I don't want to bore you too much, but kind of, we made a kind of opinion poll amongst our members, and they say 86% of them say the regulatory framework is kind of stopping our business. And the reason why this is the case is the German government, and the German government is unfortunately not alone in Europe, but kind of we are, this terms, the leading nation, is defining the energy storage as a form of last usage of power. What does this mean? This means if you are the last user, you have to pay all the energy taxes. You also have to pay the renewable energy fee, which is now 5.6 cents, and you also have to pay certain additional fees for using the grid. And if you are the last user, that's kind of can be quite expensive. Now, our engineers are driven mad by this policy, because they say, well, the kilowatt hour which goes into the storage is the same which goes out. So it is not used within the storage unit. But politicians have decided to define energy storage as the last user, and this means the cost of using stored energy are higher than using cost if you take the energy from the grid. So if you think that's kind of a problem, then we have another problem. The government not only decided to define energy storage as a form of last using energy, but also said energy storage is generating energy. And you can imagine our engineers and technicians are kind of slightly unhappy about this idea, because they say, how is it producing this kind of energy? But the government is saying, well, the energy is taken out of the grid, or taken from the solar panel, or from the wind turbine, and then it is stored, and it will be kind of used, either it goes into the grid or will be used by a car or kind of a manufacturer, whatever. So it's also generating energy. What does it mean? It of course means you have to pay all the taxes and fees which you have to pay when you produce energy. So you have kind of you have to pay twice, 2 times when you generate energy, and when you when you pass it on. And the marvelous thing about energy storage, we are both. And as you can imagine, this is one of our kind of constant talking topics with the politicians at the national level. What's interesting about it is at the European level, which I already mentioned, as well as on the regional level, the politicians completely agree with our view that this is a kind of absurd definition how to deal with energy storage. And as the regions of Germany, there are 16 regions, and the European Union are both saying very clearly there should be no additional fees for energy storage, or no additional taxes for energy storage. There should be a level playing field between the grid and energy storage, and that's also our position. We are definitely not lobbying for having exemptions, which are kind of taking away burdens from us and put it on somebody else. But we just think there needs to be a level playing field. And that's kind of one of our main topics. So just to sum it up, we have various mega trends which are currently going on, and I think these are mega trends in the energy world on a global scale. We have decentralization of energy generation. That's happening everywhere in the world. We have the mega trends that almost all governments, you can name, of course, those who are not involved into this, but kind of almost all governments are now sticking to the Paris Agreement, are trying to contribute to the decarbonization strategy. Another mega trend, of course, the more renewable energy we have, the more we need security of supply, and therefore we need energy storage. And of course, another mega trend is that the market and the system integration of renewable energy is key in any market across the world, because kind of it is very important that renewable energy is part of the overall system and not a separate unit. So I thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions which are coming up.
Markus, thank you very much for your presentation. There is, in fact, we have one comment from Mr. Lennart Isban-Cespe. His comment is, one commercial player has proven the stability of electrolyzer for 85,000 hours. That is 10 years continuous operation. Do you want to say something about this comment?
Well, I studied political science and also engineering, but I didn't I did the engineering part as kind of a minor subject. So to be honest, I for the first time ever hear this number, but I think it's definitely kind of coming close to what an electrolyzer can offer. These are very stable units, and maybe they operate for 10 years, as it's mentioned, but definitely longer than for 5 years. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And we have a question from Mr. Rendon Posadas. He says, hello, what is the reference technology used to store energy in hydrogen with 98% efficiency?
Well, we kind of it's definitely kind of, it's of course hydrogen is the key technology. Other technologies, we have kind of for instance, we have lakes which are under the earth or under the soil, which kind of are used for thermal power generation during the winter. So they store energy during the summer, and this is, for instance, very common nowadays in Germany. That kind of huge industry buildings, also the German government or the kind of the parliament, they kind of have exactly this technology, and many new industry buildings, so huge buildings or office buildings, are exactly using this technology. So you don't have, that's a key advantage, you don't have any heating costs, and of course you don't have any carbon dioxide emissions. And this technology is kind of equivalent in terms of the efficiency to hydrogen. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Markus, very much again for being. It's very well. Actually, it's 7 in the night, in the evening in Germany,
nice.
And I am happy that you made it with us after hours, and this let us come together to our guests in Latin America. So thank you very much for making this effort to be here.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So now to pick up from this word or from this technology that we're now talking about in the last minute, hydrogen. So I want to welcome also a very good friend from us and also from Latin America, Mr. Stephan Franz. Stephan has a lot of experience in projects in Latin America. He's written also articles about hydrogen and written also studies about this technology, precisely taken into account Latin America. So I am very pleased to introduce you to Stephan. Thank you very much. And the floor is yours, Stephan.
Thank you very much, Maria, for the kind introduction. Always nice to see you, although it's not in person right now with the special format of these days. I'm very happy to speak, and thank you, Energiewende, for the invitation, and the German Chambers of Commerce for the organization and for making all this possible. It's very nice to talk to you about hydrogen, an opportunity for Latin America. We touched the topic hydrogen just recently about the efficiency and how complementary is it in comparison to lithium-ion storage. This is a topic that is heavily discussed here in Europe and in Germany right now. There's a big hydrogen boom, a hype, hydrogen hype. And the question is, what is it all about? This is what I want to discuss during my presentation. Some say hydrogen is the champagne of the energy transition. The best, bit expensive still, the green hydrogen, but it's the champagne, the missing link of the energy transition, the fuel for the last mile of the energy transition, the oil of the future, or hydrogen will make it possible to ship the sunshine. Because here sunshine is not very often seen. Today it's dark already outside. Today was a very cloudy day. So why not import renewable energy sources from countries with a higher sunshine or wind potential and more space? This is the opportunity. I don't want to pick up, or I don't want to accelerate. So let's maybe start with the basic introduction to hydrogen. It's very basic. We all know it from chemistry classes. It is the lightest element in the periodic table. It is here on the upper left, the first element. It is an odorless and colorless gas and the most abundant chemical substance in the universe, not in the Earth crust. Here it can be found in compounds. And this is important. Hydrogen is always found in composites, in compound. Like water is hydrogen plus oxygen. So it can be found in all living organisms, it's nature. And it is used already as gray hydrogen, I will explain it on the next slide, in the chemical industry for producing ammonia, polymers, and other basic materials, in the petrochemical industry, in refineries for hydrocracking, and in other industrial segments as well, for example, for producing glass. So world demand in 2015, and it has grown a little bit, but it's basically the same figure for 2020, was about 8 etajoule and 2,200 terawatt hours. Just for a comparison, the German power market, electricity market, or the generation of Germany is about 600 terawatt hours. So it's, let's say, 3 to 4 times the power market of Germany. So there is a substantial world market for hydrogen already, which is covered by gray hydrogen. Gray hydrogen is produced by a steam methane reformation process using methane in this case. This is the most common way to produce hydrogen nowadays. Another could be done with using petroleum, or it is done by using petrol, oil, and coal as well. So the magic is green hydrogen now. With the costs having come down, or lowered cost for wind power production and photovoltaic production, the idea is to use electrolysis to separate oxygen and hydrogen from of water molecules. So you need renewable electricity, but to make it green hydrogen, it should be renewable electricity to produce hydrogen and oxygen, and there is some process heat that could be used as well. So this is the magic of wind gas, of green gas, of not only decarbonizing the power sector, but also to decarbonize all energy sectors. Green hydrogen is a niche market at the moment. It's only 4% of the global hydrogen demand is covered through green hydrogen, and it's much more expensive right now. Gray hydrogen costs around €1.50 per kilogram, and green hydrogen is between 5 to 7 euros per kilogram right now in Europe. In Chile, they expect to have the cheapest hydrogen in the world by 2030, reaching the €1.50 range, which would be a very good news, between 1.3 to 1.8 US dollars per kilogram by 2030. This is one of the objectives of the Chilean hydrogen strategy. So we see if there is competitiveness of green hydrogen to conventional hydrogen, there is already a market. This is just some pictures from the European hydrogen hype. There are so many, and just of the last 2-3 months, a lot of reports and strategies. Professor Fischer, the second speaker, will talk about the German hydrogen strategy, but a lot of studies, international ones, German ones, have been published. There are a lot of conferences going on. Tomorrow there will be an important conference from DIHK, which is the German Chamber of Commerce here in Germany, about international markets and corporations for green hydrogen. It's a conference that will be held in German, but maybe for the German-speaking audience here, it might be of interest. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. There will be another conference on hydrogen. So it's a lot. It's really a lot. Every day there are 1-2 events you could participate. And the consensus that is evolving right now is use hydrogen only where no direct electrification is possible. Why is that? You have efficiency losses during the electrolysis process. So when we were talking about the efficiency of hydrogen prior to my presentation, we should say it is maybe when storing hydrogen, there is almost no losses. So it's maybe 98%. But the conversion process from the generated kilowatt hour of renewable electricity to the electrolysis and then afterwards is about 70%. So there are a lot of losses. And then the reconversion into electricity in a fuel cell car is another 20 to 30% loss. So in the end, we have for example, for a fuel cell electric vehicle, we have an efficiency of 26% from the kilowatt hour generated wind power or photovoltaic power to the moving wheel of the vehicle. And in battery electric vehicles, BEV, it's 69%. From well to wheel, it would be in the fossil world, from the generation to the final use. So there is no case for an efficient, energy efficient use of fuel cell electric vehicles. Sorry to say this, but lithium ion is much better. But then in heavy duty traffic, there might be business cases for hydrogen. So where do we need green hydrogen? First, it's obvious, decarbonize the existing hydrogen demand, ammonia production, usage in refineries. And this is where all the strategies are targeting on right now. Okay, this will be the first use case for hydrogen, for green hydrogen. And then there's a lot of talk about new industrial production processes here in Germany, especially in the steel industry. Direct reduction instead of blast furnace in the production process of steel. This is a very relevant sector here in Germany because the steel industry makes up some 6 to 7% of German greenhouse gas emissions. So why not start with the 4 or 5 companies and make their production process cleaner with green hydrogen? Blending with natural gas would be another option to feed in green hydrogen into the existing natural gas infrastructure. And then comes the transport sector, the hard to abate heavy transport. So it would be aviation, maybe container ships, maybe heavy road transport. Airbus announced to come out with a hydrogen or zero emission airplane by 2035. This is a very interesting segment because we don't know how to decarbonize the aviation sector. This is where hydrogen comes in. Big industry and then big transport, but not the fossil fuel electric vehicle passenger car. This is for playing right now. And of course, for large scale storage in the power sector. We had the presentation of Mr. Rosenthal right now, previously. So lithium-based batteries are good for storing seconds, minutes, hours, maybe days. The largest battery right now is I think in Australia, 120 megawatt hours of storage capacity. This is a big lithium-ion battery storage, but however, for months and weeks, hydrogen comes in. If you need, we have dark doldrums here in Germany where no sunshine, no wind for 1-2 weeks. So an energy system, a power system, highly dependent on intermittent renewable energies requires some backup, which could be hydrogen for the dark winter months that we are experiencing here. So this is another use case for hydrogen, maybe in the power sector. But we should start with decarbonizing existing hydrogen demand, inventing or using new production processes, and then go to the transport sector and maybe the power sector. And there are a lot of opportunities, especially for Latin America, I would say. And there are some initiatives already going on. I mentioned the Chilean hydrogen strategy already. There are 2 projects already in development in Chile, one in the south. There will be a press conference tomorrow in German again for a project in Magallanes in the south of Chile, where Siemens, Porsche, and I think it's Enel, want to produce wind power gas. So want to install an electrolyzer using the wind potential of the region, the high wind potential, and produce synthetic fuels, which is a very attractive use case. So there will be a press conference tomorrow at 2 p.m. German time, I think. But other countries are also very active. Argentina, for instance, started already in 2008 with the first green hydrogen project in Patagonia. And Colombia is also working on a hydrogen strategy right now, Paraguay, Uruguay. So countries with a high renewable energy potential are already looking into using hydrogen opening up markets, positioning themselves on the international hydrogen map. Coming back to Chile, the recently published hydrogen strategy focuses on the production of ammonia, of the usage of green hydrogen in oil refineries in the coming years. But on the long run, Chile wants to export ammonia and hydrogen. And this is the big market. First, decarbonize existing hydrogen demand, and then look where to export hydrogen and its, let's say, following products like ammonia, like synthetic fuels in the coming future. However, we saw the cost of hydrogen, of green hydrogen in the beginning. So I think it is important to be realistic and to say, okay, maybe an international hydrogen market might evolve from 2030 on. Right now is the time to bring down the cost. Right now is maybe like the 1990s. The 20s might become what the 1990s were for photovoltaics and maybe wind power. So we are in the phase of bringing down the costs and identifying good use cases for green hydrogen. What could a future hydrogen world economy look like? It is maybe very futuristic here to speak about such things, but maybe the natural gas markets are a good indicator. This is a map from BP about the natural gas trade flows in 2019. And we see a mixture between pipeline gas, red, and LNG gas that is shipped, liquefied natural gas that is being shipped in with the blue arrows. And we see there is a mixture between shipments from different regions and pipelines, which is a more regional approach. So there is, we don't have a contraction, or we don't have a lack of suppliers of natural gas right now, which is a very good situation, not to depend on maybe 2-3 countries, like in the oil, in the old days of the petroleum economy. And the case, and this is maybe a bit complicated, let me explain. The costs are increasing linear with pipeline transport. Here we have the kilometers. So each kilometer costs 1 million euros investment. So cost for hydrogen transport through pipelines is increasing de manera lineal. I don't know, it's so very linear. And for shipments, larger distances might become viable. It's of course best to have a regional supply of hydrogen, but as we are lacking surfaces in place here in Europe, we need to import hydrogen. And this is where shipments might come in for longer distances. The shipment is not the problem. The kilometers are not the problem. It's more the process of liquefying hydrogen, because it liquefies at 250 degrees minus, and so maybe it's better to ship ammonia. So there's a lot of uncertainty still. What will be the technical solution for the future hydrogen economy? But however, it is some considerations are being made at the moment, and it is evolving in some future, and maybe in a couple of years. There's already a study which could be the suppliers for Germany. So of course it's Norway here. We see Morocco, a lot of talk about Morocco here in Europe, but then Portugal, Netherlands, maybe Ukraine. So the first imports will be made with regional suppliers maybe, but then we are looking already at Chile, at Australia, Argentina. So there are opportunities for Latin America, even for Europe, and we are far, far away. Maybe it's better to have hydrogen market within the region first, and then maybe to the United States, and then maybe to Japan. So there are a lot of opportunities for Latin America as well. So Chile seeks to turn solar boom into green hydrogen bonanza. This is all the solar Saudi Arabia. So international attention is on Latin America, especially on Chile right now. This is an article from Financial Times, I think. So there is public awareness, international awareness, and there is room for international cooperation and a lot of opportunities. just to highlight, if you want to read some more about hydrogen, and from a broad overview study to more technical details on safety issues, on regulatory requirements, the GIZ Chile has a very good webpage, which is 4echile.cl, 4echile.cl, and there you can find a lot of material. They're working since quite some years on this topic. Another announcement, another very important initiative using this year. There is an expert database on women in green hydrogen. Today we have 2 men speaking about hydrogen. Professor Fischer will speak afterwards. So I think it's very important to highlight this one as well. If you need an expert in hydrogen and female expert, you can go onto this webpage. So this is from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. Muchas gracias y muito obrigado. There are some Brazilian friends listening to us as well. It was very good to speak to you, and I'm happy to receive your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephan. It was, as always, very insightful and very informative. This is a technology that has awakened a lot of interest worldwide, I would say. It's something you mentioned at the beginning. So it is wonderful that you came up with us and accepted our invitation, especially with your knowledge in the market situation and not only the technological part. So it is very, very good. We're going to have these presentations on demand tonight. They will go automatic in our website, in our video salon, so that you can check them out, look at them when you have time, and maybe you can also contact our conference speakers directly for some questions. I would suggest for our audience also to visit our exhibition booths. There are many companies there that are offering the technologies that we are the technology that we're talking about today. And they are eager to get to know you. They have taken now the time to talk to the other side of the continent. And I would really advise you to take on up this opportunity and begin new relationships. Thank you, Stephan. I want to invite Professor Fisch, and thank you also very much because this is the other side. This is the hands-on, and I am very happy that you will talk to us about the first projects in Germany. These practices and this experience using the technology are very important, and I am happy to have you here. You accepted this invitation, and we are glad to present you. So, Mr. Fisch, welcome.
Could you hear me?
Yes.
Could you hear me? And can you see the slide?
Both of them.
Okay, fine. Thank you for this invitation. And as you said, it's very late. I'm at home at the moment, and I hope all this internet connection will work well. So green hydrogen first project in Germany. So let me tell you where we are. We are, let's say, a group of engineers who are working since 40 years in bring solar and technologies in practice. Yeah, we not only, let's say, speaking about scenarios or what will be happened, we're doing. We are not speaking only, we're doing. And we are doing projects mainly in Europe and in Asia, and not so let's say more in this Asian side as in the America side. So what is linked to my person? So one side we are a research institute. We are an engineering consultant with nearly 150 people, and we are also investing in it, because people can speak a lot about, but if you not invest in things, then forget it. And this is what we investing as the green hydrogen is our new child, who is doing investment and be the contractor of let's say electrolysis projects, and all these are, let's say, together in this group. So what is the situation? I think it was mentioned today a lot, but I speaking since 10 years about this all electric solution, and but the people in the government thinks I'm really crazy. because you see, we are actually have 40% of the electricity in Germany on renewables and 60% of, let's say, fossil fuels. And so I mentioned, as I said, 10 years or 8 years ago, that we have to, if we would like to go to this energy transition, this is till 2010, we have to multiply our installation actually a factor of 5. So, but as I said, people think Mr. Fish is a little bit crazy. But nowadays, I see that a lot of studies coming up who also agree that we need more installation, more rapid installation of wind and PV. Hydropower, nothing in Germany, nearly nothing. But as you see, we need more than 400 gigawatt at the moment. We have nearly 100 gigawatt on PV and wind. So hydrogen. So we're starting 5 years ago on projects linked to hydrogen, to green hydrogen. And of course, it was mentioned before, I think it's boring. Green hydrogen is a key element for the storing of long-term storage, and as well as on sector coupling between electricity and mobility and industry. Heat, I will mention, because why heat? I will come back how we increase the efficiency of electrolysis from actually 65. It's not 70, by the way, it's 60, 65 to 90. But this is only if you're using the exhaust heat of the electrolysis. So this is, as I was my, let's say, opinion, how our electricity consumption and the installation of renewable will be increased over the it's requested to reach our goals. And you see that we get a lot of let's say power who is could not use, so we have to transfer it to another energy form. And so some studies, as I said, coming back, this is not from us, coming in the recent months, and it was mentioned that if you would like to reach, let's say, 95% of climate neutral in Germany, then we need till 2030 20 gigawatt electrolysis, and till 2050 150 gigawatt. Let me say this way: at the moment we have nearly nothing installed. Yeah, some megawatts. Also, our projects are in the region of 1 megawatt to 5 megawatt. This is nearly nothing. But the goal of Germany is by the government, this national hydrogen strategy is to install 5 gigawatt till 2030. But as I said, if you would like to come to 95 climate neutral, you need more than 4 times more. But still, we have not the production lines also not in Europe. Some companies are now thinking on that. Very well known Siemens and Nel and so on. All of them are our clients, or we are customer of them. So the German strategy, as I said, was announced in this year, and 5 gigawatt should be built in 2030. But as I said, it's actually several 1,000 times higher than what we are doing actually in our projects. So this is really, it's interesting, but we need very, very urgent production lines who can produce that. And I open spoken, I will not like to import these products from China. And so the government have put 7 billions of euro for national projects and 2 million for projects outside of Germany. Okay, come to projects. Our projects, as I said, since maybe 5, 6, 7 years, we call it smart grids and smart districts. And our definition for climate neutral, you have to have a definition. And our definition is 1 ton CO2 per person in a year, including mobility of a district or of a city part or whatever. And there was announced, or we push our Ministry of Economy that they established 5 years ago, or nearly 5 years ago, a program called Energy Efficient Cities. And we won 2 of them. One is in the north of Germany, close to Hamburg, and another one is close to Stuttgart, where I'm living. It's our project, our light let's say, tower project called Esslingen. Both are under construction and nearly finished. And I would like to tell you only about one of them. This is this one in Esslingen. Due to the time lag, I would like to explain you a little bit more of these real projects. So this is a city in close to Stuttgart with nearly 100,000 inhabitants. And in the center of the city, a new district is planned and is under construction with nearly, let's say, 500 dwellings on a very, let's say, compact city construction. It's not single family houses, it's really city part. And now I explain you why we are increasing the the efficiency of electrolysis from nearly 60% to 90%. So we're using as much as possible local electricity from our roof. So we call it the solarization, the maximum solarization of let's say buildings. And by the way, mentioned nearly 10 years ago, I shift from solar thermal totally to solar electricity by PV, because in the 90s, last century, I built the biggest solar city projects with solar thermal and seasonal storage in Germany, but we only built, let's say, 5 or 6 really huge seasonal storage. Then it's not more focused on, because yeah, the gas price and all these other prices killed our projects from the economy point of view. So this renewable energy we will electricity we're using in this electrolysis with a PEM or an alkali electrolyzer. This is not important because both technology are very well established, and the efficiency, as I said, of the real efficiency, including all the let's say all the to clean the hydrogen and to dehumidify the hydrogen and so on, you need you come up to 55 to 60%. This is the value what is actually in the industry, and maybe there is some percent better, but this doesn't matter in the discussion. So this 1 megawatt what we installed there in Esslingen in the city part is producing this nearly 400 kilogram green hydrogen per day, nearly 80 ton per year. We're using this hydrogen in the gas grid. There is some mixing I see there in the word, and some of them we are transporting to the industry. And we're using the heat because we have exhaust heat. Let's say low temperature electrolyzers, they have nearly by 60 degrees centigrade exhaust of 30% of the incoming, let's say, electricity, and we're using this heat for the space heating and the domestic hot water of the district. This is the reason that we are so close to the city part. By the way, I would like to mention, if you would like to install all these electrolyzers in Europe, or let's say in Germany for this demand I mentioned before, then the excess heat of all these electrolyzers is nearly the actual district heating consumption in Germany. It's nearly 120 terawatt hours. So this is one reason I said I recommend to do these electrolysis things in Europe. Most of them, of course, we can import some hydrogen from overseas, but if you import it from overseas, I don't know, or from North Africa, it doesn't matter where, we lose this 30% heat. So this be blowing in the atmosphere. And so my recommendation is install as much as possible where you need the hydrogen, and the hydrogen is needed, as was mentioned before, by industry and heavy mobility, and we have to use this exhaust heat to increase our, let's say, efficiency of the whole system approach. So we have done this in this city part. You see here the solarization. So we put as much as possible high efficient PV on the roofs, on these flat roofs. This is typically designed in Germany that this building have flat roofs in this more or less multi-family buildings. So this is a site, the actual site or the sites a half year ago. And you see we are have our electrolysis direct in the city. It takes us nearly 1 year for the permission, but it works fine. And now we know how we do it, and now we copy it on several other projects. And you see there is the heat is distributed from this energy center, and then we have a hydrogen pipeline to the gas pipeline, to the conventional gas pipeline, and we feed in the gas pipe nearly 3 to 4% of the amount of the methane we can insert in this gas pipeline. And another part is then we have a trailer filling station where we compress the hydrogen who is coming from the electrolysis with 10 bar. We compress it up to 500 bar, and then it's transported by conventional trailer. This is at the moment, let's say 99% of all hydrogen, doesn't matter green or gray, whatever, is transported by trailers, by high pressure, let's say trailers. And yeah, this and in this area where you see this car filling station, there will be a new district where we installing a complete hydrogen network. I mean, a distribution network where only hydrogen is the carrier, and we using then on the end of this new then district, we are maybe, it's in discussion, we may be using then also fuel cells. I think I would not like to boring you with all the technical things, because this is what we engineering doing, a lot of things of designing and costs. What we are, this is our technology. I think I mentioned before, but here let's talk a little bit about cost, because also I see some figures before about what is a kilogram green hydrogen cost. Let's say the main topic is not the capex. The main topic is the electricity, what we are using in this for power to gas. And of course, when we go into Chile and we have a 3 cent per kilowatt hour, then you see in this diagram, okay, you can produce maybe hydrogen in the range of, let's say, €3 the kilogram. Fine. Then you transported it to Europe, and then maybe you have 4.5 to 5 euro per kilogram. But we have to know that, and I see in some pictures before that actually when we build huge big PV systems here in south of Europe or in Germany, then we come down. Also, actually in Germany is 5 cents. Actually, the electricity from big huge PV plants is nearly 4.5 to 5 cents. And if you're looking then in this diagram, then you see we can producing in South Europe or in south of Germany. It's not a problem to producing by a little bit larger systems like 10 megawatt or something like that, or 100 megawatt electrolysis. We come down to, let's say, 4.55 4 euro per kilogram. This is our goal, what we are working on. And we would like to put these electrolyzers in the suburban areas where we can then take the heat from these electrolyzers and to feed, let's say, more or less big city parts. Yeah, this is the cost, and here you see some pictures of the project. It's now really nearly finished. It's in operation now. From we'll start we at the moment in the test phase of the project, and so in the full scale we will be in operation in the spring of the next year. I give you one idea of what we're doing. I mean, there's a lot of projects at the moment. What we're doing, let's say 6, 7 projects in this case. one of a nice project I would like to show you what's happened. We have a lot of so-called landfill or deposit of garbage, and they are, let's say, covered in the last years by soil, and then we're using these areas for installing PV, some megawatt, let's say from 5 to 10 megawatt PV. And now comes up a project where they're using this gas from this garbage in the past, and now the gas is, let's say, no more useful gas is coming, and the cogeneration there is not more in operation. And so now we're installing their electrolysis, because the PV what we're installing on this plant, on this area, we can direct produce hydrogen and feed the exhaust or the excess heat in the pipelines for the city. And on this position, we transport the hydrogen with trailers to the industry, because in Germany we have now Daimler and Bosch who are have installing new production plants for fuel cells for trucks, and especially for trucks, because as my previous speaker told you, that for let's say cars, normal small cars, of course there is electricity the solution, but for trucks I cannot understand that the people speaking about that the 40-ton truck needs an 8-ton battery, and we have to also consider that these batteries are, as I said, 8 tons, and a lot of CO2 is let's say stored in these batteries, and this is the, let's say, a story where I see no application for electricity for heavy trucks or ships or whatever. Yeah, this is a project what's going on now. It's the installation of the PV, and here is the plant where the electrolysis will be operated. And I'm very happy to have these projects and be doing, let's say, our conclusions. I think I skipped that, and I would like to say doing, not speaking too much, doing. Thank you. Okay. Hello? Hello?
Okay, now? Okay, I'm sorry. It was, we had to recharge it. Professor Fish.
No, I hear you again, but I not hear you before.
Yes, thank you, Professor Fish. I was just saying that I take your words, doing and not speaking, and yeah. You're absolutely right. I am absolutely happy that you shared with us your experiences. It is especially great to see that hydrogen as an energy source can already be used in real buildings and quarters, and not only be a theoretical concept. So I am very happy that you took up on our invitation and showed us what can be done and what is being done, what the challenges are, and what your plans for the future as an engineer are.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So now, Ulrich, you're our last speaker of the day, but with a very, very important topic, which is the business models for virtual power plants. This is a very important concept to wrap up all the technologies that we heard of today. You're going to show us about the technology and what kind of businesses we can do with it. Thank you. It's late. It's already 8 in the evening in Germany, but you managed it. So thank you very much. And I leave you then with the presentation.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Maria. Can you hear me and can you see my presentation already?
Yes.
Perfect. So, first of all, thank you, Maria, for your kind introduction, and thanks for to Energiewende for inviting me to this conference and for giving me the opportunity to sharing this presentation with you. I really enjoy being here. I have very close links with Latin America. I also worked in Central America for almost 2 years. So I'm happy to be here with you. So with this brief introduction, I would like to jump right into my presentation. So now you should see the header slide, hopefully. So as Maria said, I'm going to present, talk about the virtual power plant and different business models and a specific user case in Argentina. I would like to elaborate a little bit also on solar and wind power forecasts, as we see a very close link between both technologies. So this is the agenda for my presentation today. I will start with a quick introduction to energy meter systems. After that, quickly touch on the challenges deriving from the energy transition. As I already mentioned, I will talk briefly about solar and wind power forecasts. And after that, I will present the virtual power plant technology, applications and business models that can be established with this software. And I will present a concrete user case in Argentina. So to start, some words on energy meter systems. Company was founded in 2004 in Oldenburg, which is located in the northwest of Germany. We are now 115 employees. On the left-hand side, you see the 2 founders and still managing directors of the companies. And the services that we provide on a global scale are accurate power forecasts for solar, wind, demand, and we also do grid-related forecasts. So we forecast, for example, grid congestions. Second, we provide a market-leading virtual power plant, which we offer as a software as a service solution. And we are also very active in consultancy and research and development, trying to explore always new ways of better integrating viable renewable energies into power systems and markets. The users, as you might tell already, of our services are transmission, distribution, and independent system operators, energy trading companies, and also plant operators who sometimes need power forecasts, for example, to provide production schedules to grid operators. This is a choice of our customers. I'm not going too much into details. On the left-hand side, you see some transmission system operators or independent system operators. And on the right-hand side, energy generators or traders who use our technology to manage distributed energy resources and trade them on short-term markets. This is where we are currently active. So as you can see, also in Latin America, we currently forecast roughly 300 gigawatts of installed wind power and about 150 gigawatt of installed solar power on a global scale. So we are one of the top 2-3 providers of solar and wind power forecasts. Some words on the consulting services as well. As you see on the left-hand side, we have some projects going on in Latin America as well. As far as I know, this afternoon there was a presentation from the National Energy Commission from the Dominican Republic. We are currently delivering solar and wind power forecasts for all of the installed wind and solar power plants in the Dominican Republic. Later on in this presentation, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the projects that we execute or have executed in Mexico, Central America, and also in Argentina and Brazil. So let us come to the topic. What are the challenges when we want to deal, or when we have to deal with decentralized, viable, renewable energy? So in the first place, you have to bear in mind that there are a lot of plants which get commissioned and grid connected. I think in Germany, we now have about 1.8 million solar and wind power plants installed and feeding into the grid. So what you really want to know is the current production level of all of your solar and wind power plants. Second, you also want to know what all of these wind and solar power plants are going to do in the future. So what are they going to produce in the next hour or in the next days? And finally, you also want to have control or maintain control of all of these assets as far as possible in order to react on market or grid situations. And what has emerged as key solutions, technologies to deal with these challenges are, on the one hand side, the virtual power plant, which we provide as a software as a service solution. And on the other hand, the wind and solar power forecasts, which give you information on the future production schedule of distributed energy resources. So I just start a little bit with forecasts, power forecasts. Here is an example of our Suncast solar power forecasting system. To give you a basic idea of how solar power forecasts and also wind power forecasts are created. So basically we choose different numerical weather models from weather forecast providers and combine these according to specific sites. So if you want to forecast a specific solar power plant, we're going to have a look at the different weather models which cover this specific site. And there are weather models which cover every site on Earth, every spot. So we try to achieve an optimal combination of different weather models. And then we need from the plant owner or from the grid operator precise information on the plants that we want to forecast. So this could be installed capacity of the solar plant in this case, the inclination angle of the modules, if there's a tracking mode or if it's a fixed mounting structure, and so on. And based on all of this information, our forecasting system calibrates a forecast and which is then delivered to our customers. Ideally, we can calibrate this forecast with 1 year of historical measurement data. This helps us to train our forecasting model right from the beginning. So here you see the scope and configuration of power forecasts as they are delivered. The scope is, in our case, we provide solar and wind power forecasts for single parks, for plant operators, for example, can be for portfolios, for entire balancing areas, or we also do market forecasts for entire countries. And what is getting increasingly important is also forecasts for rooftop PV systems, because all of these rooftop PV systems start to having a tremendous impact on the power systems and the system stability, and it is very important to estimate and forecast the rooftop PV generation. Resolution can be hourly down to 5 minutes, update frequency according to the needs of the user of the forecast, and it is very important to also take into account non-availabilities. So if there are plants which are shut down, then this information has to be transmitted to the forecasting system. So the plant owner has usually a web interface. In our case, it is provided that the plant owner can submit this information to the forecasting system, and then it is taken into account that a certain turbine, for example, will be shut down due to maintenance. In our case, we offer 24/7 technical service and also offer access to a web portal where all the time series data are visualized in plots. To give you a concrete example of what we have done so far in Latin America, here's an example on a develop Bernhard presented in his presentation the concept of the develop with the GIZ, for example. In our case, we implemented this public-private partnership in cooperation with the GIZ in Central America and Mexico and the local transmission system operators. And the idea of this public-private partnership was to transfer international best practices in solar and wind power forecasting to the region. And the project was implemented for 2 years in 2017-18 mainly. And the project consisted of capacity building workshops, which we carried out in Mexico and Central America. And what is especially interesting is that we delivered operational power forecasts for selected solar and wind power forecasts in the region for the TSOs in Central America, specifically UT and El Salvador, and to SENACE, the TSO of Mexico. And after this pilot phase, we came back to Mexico and El Salvador and presented our findings and drew conclusions from this pilot phase, and so did UT and SENACE. On this map, you see the forecasted wind power plants on the upper chart, and in the lower chart, the solar power plants, which we forecasted. On the right-hand side on the table, you see all of the plants listed. In Mexico alone, we forecasted 2.4 gigawatt of installed wind and solar power during this year, and altogether combined with Central America, it was roughly 3.3 gigawatts. Here is an example of a wind power forecast which we issued and sent to SENACE. So this is a wind power plant in Oaxaca in the south of Mexico. And this is very interesting because they have a special meteorological effect, sort of a tunnel effect, which appears in wintertime and which leads to a drastic increase of wind speeds, which automatically converts also into a very steep ramp of the wind park. And what you see here in the reddish line is what we forecasted. So this is a forecast that we sent to SENACE system operator. And the black line is what really happened afterwards. So this is the measurement, the generation data from these wind parks. And as you can see, there's quite a good match between the forecast and the measurement. So despite the very challenging situation, we managed to forecast, predict the production schedule of the wind parks quite accurately. Let us now come to the second topic of my presentation, the virtual power plant for distributed generation and load. I don't know if you have heard of this concept before. The VPP has emerged as a very important tool to deal with the problems or challenges deriving from the energy transition. So what the virtual power plant does, it is a software which is capable of aggregating distributed energy resources to one single control center. And this control center is able to manage all of these units and intelligently orchestrating their operation. So the VPP connects to an unlimited number of different technologies. It can connect to wind onshore and wind offshore plants, solar power plants, but also hydro or storage systems and even conventional generation resources. So all of these energy units can be digitally connected to a portfolio, which is then coordinated by the virtual power plant. The virtual power plant as well integrates power forecasts, which is very important because in most cases we have solar and wind power plants connected to the system. And having both a direct connection to each single plant and integrating the power forecast, the VPP allows to monitor real-time data, the current production data of all of the connected assets, but also the future power output. What is a crucial feature of the virtual power plant is that it gives the user the ability to remote control the assets can be single assets or the entire portfolio. So in case it is needed, for example, in Germany for aggregators, but it could also be the grid operators, the VPP is able to curtail the production of the portfolio, for instance, in case of grid congestions. For aggregators or traders, it is very interesting to have a direct interface with power markets, which is offered by the VPP. So the user of the VPP, a trader, for example, is able to directly trade the production of the portfolio on short-term markets. Before I continue with the business models and the specific user case, some charts of the virtual power plant so that you have an idea of what the virtual power plant looks like from the perspective of the user. So I selected some charts which give you an idea on that. First of all, you see here the so-called map view. This is a view of a map where all of the plants are displayed, which are connected to the virtual power plant. So this is a virtual power plant, which consists of a portfolio of several hundreds, actually, solar and wind power plants, which are distributed in Germany. And all of these plants are connected to this virtual power plant. And as you can see here, each power plant, there is information given on the current production level of each power plant at this specific moment. And if you go make a click on a single power plant, the following chart will appear, which is the so-called technical overview. So this is one of the main views of the virtual power plant. And on the left-hand side, you see the so-called branch structure or the portfolio. So here, all of the connected solar and wind power plants are shown. And in the middle, you can select every single plant, or you can select the whole portfolio. And in the middle, you will see the generation data for the single plant which you want to see, or the entire portfolio. So the grayish line, which is limited by the grayish area, which is limited with the white line, shows you the historic production data of your portfolio. And what you see with what you see as well are the colored lines, and these colored lines represent the different forecasts that you have integrated for your portfolio. So many traders integrate several forecasts, and each forecast provider has a different opinion on the future production of solar and wind power plants. So users who rely on very accurate information want to have as much opinions on the future as possible, and the virtual power plant can here shows the likely future production of this specific portfolio in the next hours, as you see it on the right, and also the forecast spread, so the deviation between the different forecast providers. As I said before, the virtual power plant is able to curtail production of the connected portfolio, and this is shown here. So you see here a portfolio which has a installed capacity of 5.8 gigawatt. You see that above in the horizontal white line. And then you see the real-time production data. And this is real-time production data is once again here the white line. But you see that here a curtailment was took place, and so the user decided not to produce what would have been meteorologically possible, because if you take a look at the colored lines, this is what the power forecasts say what the portfolio could generate. But for whatever reason, for example, due to grid congestions or because of negative market prices, the user of the virtual power plant decided to curtail the production and reduce the power output to a capacity of 800 megawatts for a certain period. In this case, it's about 5 hours that he limits the power generation. And only after that, he permits the production of the entire portfolio to come back to what is meteorologically possible. Let us now have a look at the different applications and business models which the VPP allows. So the VPP itself is a mere IT platform. So it's up to the user to find business ideas which you can implement with the virtual power plant. The easiest application would be to simply have a data acquisition and monitoring tool of future and current production levels. Another application would be the VPP as control center, for example, for grid operators or plant operators who want to monitor and control their portfolios. The most common user case in Germany and many European countries is trading of renewable energies on intraday and spot markets. So in Germany, you have the obligation to actively trade the generation of power plants above 100 kilowatt. And this is done by aggregators. So these aggregators contract big portfolios and assume the responsibility of trading the power output on power markets. And the virtual power plant has emerged as a state-of-the-art solution for doing this. Nowadays, it's also possible to provide ancillary services with renewable energies. So this can also be implemented with a virtual power plant. And last but not least, demand-side management. So you can also combine flexible consumers with, for example, renewable energies and balance demand and production within one portfolio, which combines the consumer side and the supply side in one portfolio. So let us now come to the first application, trading of wind and solar power. As I mentioned, this is the most common user case. So let's assume you have a renewable energy portfolio, which you see below, just a mixed assets consisting of solar, wind, and biogas, for example. And all of these plants are sending real-time data to the virtual power plant. And the virtual power plant conducts a real-time data plausibility check. So it checks if this is really plausible, this information. And then the different power forecasts are integrated. And the virtual power plant is able to carry out a so-called meter power forecast calculation. So it is able to even improve the single forecast and combine these single forecasts and create an optimized meter power forecast, which takes into account the strength and weaknesses of each forecast provider. What is more, non-availabilities are taken into account. This is very important. So the VPP operator is not necessarily the owner of the plant. So the owner of the plant is able to submit information on the availability of his plant. And this is also processed within the virtual power plant when calculating the production schedule. And then the trader knows what the production schedule of his portfolio is going to be like day ahead, for example, and he's able to trade this power output on the energy market. And he can respond to the market situation by intervening in the production of his energy portfolio, for example, by curtailing the production in case of negative market prices. I'm going to skip this slide. This is explains more in detail the trading of wind and solar power. And I come to the next application, which is providing regulation power with virtual power plants. So today, virtual power plants can also offer reserve power to the system operator. And this is already the case in Germany. And for example, in Germany, wind farms are now able to participate in the reserve power market and offer tertiary reserve to the system operator. And the following chart shows you how a wind farm contributes negative load as ancillary services to the system operator. So this wind park runs at full capacity at 24 megawatts and is required to curtail its production to offer negative load to the system operator. And this is done twice. So you see below the time series at 11:30, the production is curtailed from 24 megawatts to roughly 6.2 megawatts for a period of 15 minutes, and then comes back to its meteorologically possible production output. And then once again at about 12 o'clock, once again, there is a curtailment for another 15 minutes. So this shows that the VPP is very dynamic and is very quick in responding to the needs of the market and the power system, and the portfolio reacts very quickly to the order of the virtual power plant. Last but not least, I would like to present a little bit the public power partnership, which we're currently implementing in South America, where we want to introduce the VPP as a key technology for the energy transition. And in this case, we are working closely with the transmission system operator of Argentina, CAMESA. What is the situation in Argentina? Argentina launched a tender program called Renovar, which in the end resulted in a massive installation of wind and solar power plants, which all got commissioned, grid connected in the last 1 or 2 years. So there was a massive wave of huge parks which got connected to the public grid. And so the TSO was confronted with a series of challenges. CAMESA was not really used to dealing with a high number of distributed plants which produce energy dependent on weather conditions. And as well, this weather-dependent production requires new processes in the TSO. What is more, there was no real-time monitoring of solar and wind power parks. And finally, there was no remote control of solar and wind parks. So CAMESA still phoned wind and solar plant operators and told them to curtail their production, to shut down their plants in case it was necessary. And this is, of course, viable if you only have a few solar and wind power plants connected. But if you have a growing number of assets connected to the grid, this is not viable anymore and needs to be solved in a more efficient way. So on this map, you see the wind parks that we connected to the virtual power plant. So we implemented, or we carry out a pilot phase where we implement the virtual power plant for CAMESA as a control center for renewable energies. So in this case, we connected 27 wind parks in southern Argentina and Patagonia to the virtual power plant, and retrieve real-time information from all of these wind parks to the virtual power plant. And it's quite a lot. If you take a look, this is a total capacity of 1.5 gigawatt, and this is quite a big share of the totally installed wind power capacity in Argentina, which is 2.2 gigawatt. And the specific challenge in this case is that many wind parks are located in Patagonia in the south of Argentina. And they are all connected to one single transmission line, and they all have to pass, all their wind energy has to pass via a single substation. So there is tremendous pressure on the grid of CAMESA, and the VPP in this case provides CAMESA with much more visibility of what is really going on in Patagonia in terms of real-time production data and the future production schedule. So this is a look into the virtual power plant as we provided to CAMESA. On the left-hand side, you see all of the wind power plants which are connected to their virtual power plant. And in the center, once again, you see the different the information on all of the wind parks. Here, a single wind park is selected, and you see, once again, the white line, the generation data. And you see the historic forecast on the left-hand side, the sort of yellow-orange line. And on the right-hand side, once again, you see the forecast. So CAMESA can anticipate for each single wind park, or also for the entire portfolio of wind parks in Patagonia, what they are doing in the moment and what they are going to produce in the next hours or days. Yes, and this is as well the main project result so far. So Gamesa is now able to monitor current production levels of single wind parks and entire portfolio. Gamesa sees now future production levels of these wind parks. And Gamesa in principle has also the possibility to remote control the wind parks due to regulatory the regulatory framework. Gamesa still does not really remote control these wind parks, but it could potentially do so. So this is a status quo as it is currently. As a next step, we agreed with Gamesa that we will extend the forecasting service also to the solar parks in Argentina. And this is something we are going to start in the next couple of weeks. This project will end in the end of next year. So we still have roughly one year to go with this project in Argentina. So thank you very much for your attention and your interest. I'm happy to take your questions, and we are as well one of the exhibitors at the ExpoVirtual. So I invite you to drop by, or otherwise just yeah, you can also find further information from Energy Meter Systems. And of course, you can also drop me an email under this email address, and I'm happy to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Uli, thank you very much for your presentation. It's very interesting to know what possibilities are, how you can make calculations and you say prognostic. I think it's very insightful for our visitors, for the visitors to our fair. Thank you again. It's very late, but in Latin America, everybody is starting now. So even if we are so far away from our visitors, we have managed to be close. Yeah, Uli is also an exhibitor, so I would like to take now the opportunity to invite all of our guests today to go and visit the booths in the many pavilions. We have green energy. That's where Mr. Kaltenbach is to be found, and other companies that are sharing a lot of technologies. There are many topics that we talked about today, and you can find the experts there to go deeper in some conversations. You can make an appointment and speak with them tomorrow or in the next days. So this has been a full day with a lot of information. I think within the energy transition, there are many topics and many experiences to be shared. We hope that you take this opportunity to talk with your colleagues, share these new ideas, look for new ways to make new businesses. It is important, the creation of jobs, the building of capacities, and also the political strategies and laws and regulations. And we must keep in mind that this should not go on the cost of sustainability and, of course, to our environment. I am very happy to announce that we will be tomorrow also with another very exciting topic, which is energy efficiency. That's the first step toward the energy transition. And I think there are many exciting ideas, many exciting projects that have been developed and will be shared tomorrow. Go talk to our exhibitors today. Everybody is there and happy to talk to you. So I will say good night for us in Germany. We'll still be in our booths until 10, almost 1.5 hours or 2 hours, depending on the other exhibitors. But we are the Energiewende, and we will see you tomorrow for the next topics. If you happen to have some questions, you can also come to our booth in the Global Hub. We can manage to channel these questions and have some information uploaded also in our booth. The 20 chambers of commerce in the region of Latin America are also in the Global Hub. There we have also other consultant companies with consulting about law. We have the environmental pavilion with environmental technology, also infrastructure. Green energy, we have divided it in two because we have so many companies offering top technologies. We have green energy, solar and storage, and then we have green energy for everybody else. So there's a lot to look at, and I hope it's the beginning of a very long relationship. So many thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow.